Well, another week and another political shooting as the divide in the country continues to deepen. I'm Collin Moore with another AT News update. There's currently one dead and two in critical condition after yet another politically motivated attack at an ICE detention facility in Dallas, Texas Thursday morning. The shooter, 29-year-old Joshua John, shot three detainees before turning a gun on himself in what authorities are calling a targeted attack towards ICE agents and law enforcement.
It's still very tense out here. We've seen multiple ICE agents roaming around. They've checked our credentials, and they don't want us to show you this on camera, but just over to my right, there's an armored truck over there, as well as multiple vehicles that are kind of protecting the entrance to this ICE detention facility behind me, making sure that everyone who is here is supposed to be here, and no one can get in unless they are allowed to be here. And that's because officials say this was a planned attack on ICE agents intended to kill ICE agents. They say this was no peaceful protest. There were shots fired. Now, the acting North Texas U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson, she says there were about a dozen or so people who came to this Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado on Friday night. She says they were dressed in black military-style clothes and used fireworks and vandalized property to lure agents into a trap. Authorities allege a suspect in a wooded area near the center then shot an Alvarado police officer in the neck, and a second suspect fired 20 to 30 bullets at officers who had stepped outside. Investigators found AR-style rifles at the scene, and the defendants were found with body armor.
Despite all three victims being detainees, at least one bullet was found with anti-ICE messaging. Now, this came as a surprise to John's brother, who said that as far as he knew, his brother didn't harbor strong anti-ICE ideology. In response to the shooting, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem proclaimed that the United States will, quote, not stand for this, and that more law enforcement officers and ICE agents will be recruited in response. Similarly to the partisan responses to the Charlie Kirk assassination on September 10th, lawmakers on both sides immediately began pointing fingers at each other, with Noem adding that it was Democrats to blame, who in her words had repeatedly called law enforcement officers names. Vice President J.D. Vance added that the shooting was politically motivated, citing then yet-to-be-disclosed evidence, and called John a violent left-wing extremist. In what can be described as a more bipartisan sentiment, the vice president exclaimed, "You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't even have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell." Now, as we discussed last week, violence of any kind should never be a partisan issue. It's simply a humanitarian one. Now, this could be seen earlier this week when Illinois Senator Karina Villa ran up and down the streets of a western Chicago suburb in heels, warning her residents to stay inside and avoid the ICE agents in the area. When later confronting ICE agents face-to-face, she demanded they remove their face masks and leave her neighborhood alone, proclaiming that it's her city. Now, many would frame this as a liberal political gimmick to spread a specific agenda through social media, but I think that anyone who listens to the following clip can agree there's a genuine desperation and concern for her constituents.
Come on.
This is my city. This is my city, that's right. Take off your mask.
Pussies.
Take off your mask. What?
What?
Stay inside of your houses, everyone. Do not come out. Stay in your houses.
I would think that given the distance that continues to expand endlessly between the people and their lawmakers, regardless of political affiliation, this kind of effort would be welcome. In a world where corporations and wealthy donors so often dictate public policy without much care for the people in their districts and states, this is an example of a nonviolent protest to a potentially very dangerous political agenda. While President Trump has painted actions like these as political attacks against law enforcement, the shooting in Dallas this week was born from extremist ideology by a man who wanted to, according to authorities, inflict maximum terror on ICE agents. Now, we also touched on government research last week that points to significant evidence saying that following an event such as the Charlie Kirk assassination, there's a much higher risk of another similar event taking place within a 2-week period. Investigators did find searches on the devices of Joshua John, including some that did involve inquiries into the Kirk shooting. However, no connections have yet been made between the two shootings as far as inspiration goes at this point. Now, this is a moment for all Americans to reflect on what the best way to combat other citizens' opinions they don't agree with should be. In a live broadcast from the Oval Office Thursday night during the signing of an executive order allowing for the sale of popular social media app TikTok, President Trump, Kash Patel, and other cabinet members blamed wealthy left-wing anarchists and agitators that hire others, funding millions to lunatics. Senior advisors described the effort as a first-of-its-kind joint government effort dismantling what he calls left-wing violence and terrorism, as well as Antifa efforts. They cited violence stretching back to riots associated with the Black Lives Matter movements and compared it to the recent political assassinations and attacks on ICE agents. Miller also called recent actions an organized campaign of radical left terrorism, as opposed to the lone isolated events, calling it funded and planned. This government crackdown on political opponents of the president also follows the one-week removal of Jimmy Kimmel from ABC after comments from FCC Director Brendan Carr suggested the agency should potentially take action against the company for comments he deemed inappropriate about Charlie Kirk shooter Tyler Robinson's political affiliations at the time of the killing and the motives behind the attack. As left-leaning citizens and activists alike begin to feel increased pressure to remain silent, the coming weeks could prove to be some of the most important in American history. Look, this is unprecedented in this country, in this time. 249 years ago, countless founding Americans gave their lives to protect their inalienable rights against just this. We simply need to remember to respect each other, voice our opinions, and stand up against blatant infringements upon our rights. It's not a partisan issue at this point. It's an American one. Once again, this is Collin Moore with AT News. Have a good night.